So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One ideas, tip news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints podcast.
Sponsored by Midland, communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MyMedic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DeMoss Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Oh, Phil, another day here in Nomad Land. I'm parked at a Cracker Barrel restaurant in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, if you can believe that. Doing some work here on the computer.
I know the Cracker Barrel that you're talking about. Have you gone in and actually ate anything?
We actually did. We went in and had a little breakfast and some unlimited all refill coffee this morning. So I'm a little wired up.
Okay. Let's get right into it. We both we'll get into it a little later, but our travel plans caused this particular podcast to be a little short this week. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start with the viewer question.
Okay.
I didn't realize it, but on several podcasts, we have discussed about the national parks and we've used the words backcountry and wilderness. And I was asked, what's the difference? So, you want to take this one or you want me to take this one or what?
Well, let me just understand what before we move forward here. So the difference between, are you referring to like when we use the words backcountry? So to me, I'll let you answer it as well. But to me, backcountry, so wilderness and backcountry are similar. We talk a lot on the podcast a lot about national parks and BLM land, and then there's national monuments. There's a lot of different designations of federal land out there. So backcountry, in my view, when I say backcountry, oftentimes that means, I'll give you an example. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. So if you go to Glacier National Park as an example, and you hike to, there's a couple trails that I've hiked in there up to the glaciers. That's backcountry. That's off. In many cases, in many places, you need permission and check-in to go do some of those activities. So I'm not sure where you are referring to this. So why don't you give me your view on this subject?
Well, this is a question I could have just quickly answered for him and moved on, but I decided it was good to have it on the podcast because we basically use those two words interchangeably a lot, and we both use them incorrectly a lot, as well as most people. But like you were saying, when the national park is using that term or other federal agencies that partition off land through America, they mean something very specific. When they're referring to backcountry, it's basically any place that you can drive to. Ski huts, cabins, log cabins, hike-in campgrounds, things like that. When you're talking about wilderness, that's a designation that basically is almost the same as backcountry, but it bans certain technologies like cars, bikes, chainsaws, cell towers. You can still have a stove. You can still backpack in with a horse, Matter of fact, that's a very common thing that people use as backpacking horses for this type of thing. Um, so
So that's interesting. I would have called the opposite to that. So I'm learning something here on the podcast today.
And that's why I wanted to say it on here, because when I was reading, I only read about it to verify what I was saying, but I thought I knew it all, and I had it flipped around also.
Interesting.
And it's also good to know that, because there's certain requirements on visitors in particular parts of the park, whether it be the front country, back country, or wilderness. It has a lot to do with the reservation system that's involved. I'm sure you know that, like, when you're going through wildernesses, you have to get a special permit specifically for that. You have to give them the days and times that you're going to go, and potentially your name has to go into a lottery. Sometimes that lottery is once every 3 or 4 months. And then there's like backcountry in Moab, where there's a lottery that actually happens every single day. You have to show up in the morning, and it's pretty much first come serve, but it is a lottery.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think we answered that pretty good. I have a lot more information, but that's the part that I felt was important to get out there.
Yep.
Do you have any plans in this year to see the 2024 Perseid meteor shower?
I don't even know what it is, Phil, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, it started last week, and it lasts until September. And August 12th is considered the best day to view the shooting stars. So it's the meteor that periodically comes back, where it's all those shooting stars, and you can practically see it anywhere where it's dark. And that's the key. That's the only reason I'm really mentioning it, is that this is something that I think you should have on your bucket list to at least see once in your lifetime. And also, that if you're going to do this, you can't just go outside and see it. You need to be somewhere like a dark sky. Then it becomes very visible.
And my travels in the next couple months are going to take me largely through western Montana and northern Idaho. So I get, there's plenty of dark sky areas up here for sure. So I'll have to take a look for that.
And I left it real general, like that, dark skies, because there's between 150 shooting stars per hour with this particular, and it's visible across the entire U.S. So there's no specific location you need to be in other than it be some kind of dark sky, a place with very limited light. And like I said, if you find one of those places, you won't need any kind of visual aids or anything like that. It's very clear. It just needs to be dark. You can't watch it in a city. So we got that out of the way. And man, Mike, did you hear about the father and daughter that died in the Canyonlands this week? They ran out of water.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, a father and his adult daughter were found dead Friday at Canyonlands National Park in Utah after the pair got lost while hiking and ran out of water in triple-digit temperatures.
Geez, I tell you, one of the things that is probably the most important to think about at this point, having spent a lot of time out west recently, and as you know, we hooked up a couple days ago, it has just been incredibly hot. I mean, incredibly hot in multitude of states. In fact, if you look at we were looking at a map last night of the United States, a heat map, and most of the country is in excessive heat. In many cases, over into triple digits Fahrenheit. So you don't realize how quickly that affects your body and how much water you really actually need to consume to stay even at a break-even point. So people that are doing outdoor activities like hiking or even things on the water like kayaking or any kind of outdoor activity for that matter have to be extremely careful. And even at high elevation, by the way, which which also dehydrates you even faster.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I've been in places like Colorado and people are wondering, why am I dizzy? Why am I panting? And they think of everything other than water because it's a 50 or 60 degree day.
Sure.
So dehydration can happen without minus the heat. Also, you have a lot of people, hey, I'm at home under the air conditioning. I don't know the science behind it, but you can be inside under air conditioning and you still need to be drinking water. You can dehydrate at home. When I was living in Vegas, it used to happen to people all the time.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been hanging out recently, and the constant cry amongst everybody is, hey, did you drink some water? Drink some water. And when somebody drinks some water, they're handing it to other people. You want some too? You want some too? And we're practically doing nothing. So it's not about whether you're doing something or not. You need to keep yourself hydrated. It's the thing that will take you down physically fastest. So, yeah, he was a 52-year-old man. He was with his daughter, 23 years old, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. So, wow. I don't know if that was his only daughter. I don't know if his wife was still alive. That's just a sad story.
Yeah, terrible story for sure.
And it's been bad with this heat all around. There were 2 deaths in Snow Canyon State Park in Utah on Friday. On July 6th, a motorcyclist died and a second was hospitalized while driving through Death Valley as the temperature soared to 128. A 50-year-old hiker from Texas died while attempting to reach the south rim of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. We already spoke about that one last week. And then there was another 50-year-old hiker from Texas that died while attempting to reach the south rim of the Grand Canyon. So people are dropping like flies. This is something to be serious, to be taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mike, before we get into what the future holds for me and you, I have something I'm gonna kind of throw at you in a second. Maybe you know about this, maybe you don't. The U.S. Supreme Court's Chevron doctrine ruling was loosened for the EPA, and I was wondering, do you think that will affect the overland industry in any way? Because in this particular Supreme Court, maybe I should tell you what the Chevron doctrine is a decision that required courts to let federal agencies make rulings on ambiguous points in the law that had not been covered by Congress. So to get right to the point, things like the EPA, the FDA, these agencies have pretty much been able to legislate and make laws and make judgments about actions that people do over the court.
That's
and
right.
This is basically taking a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that power away. And the particular court case that came up was how the EPA was forcing aftermarket companies to do things that they actually didn't have the power to do. So right. I'm thinking it's going to really open up a lot of innovation, because there was a lot of innovation stifled because you couldn't even get started.
Yeah, I heard some discussion about that at Overland Expo, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. And there was a lot of effect on, it actually was on OEM stuff and on aftermarket products for, in particular, they were talking about for vehicles. But, it brings up a larger discussion because, not to dive into politics, but that's where we always end up on this podcast somehow. But those 3-letter agencies in the United States have a lot of power. Just about any 3-letter agency that you can think of. So that not only is an interesting thing when it comes to what you're talking about, like parts and different designs and things for, in our case, vehicles for overlanding. but also has to do with the land and has to do with environmental things and oil and natural gas and electricity and, you know, everything from windmills to solar to dams, right? So there's all sorts of stuff going on. And obviously we're in a what I'm going to call a very significant, potentially changing year here in 2024.
I agree with that. I keep up with what's going on in the Supreme Court, whatever rulings, every single ruling. I literally have a feed that comes in to me about what's going on with them. And I have learned that you can't just look at that particular case. You have to look way, way bigger picture. Sometimes the case that's going before you is a trivial case, but in law, you need what's called a precedent. Yeah. And sometimes it's that particular case that is the easiest way to make that precedent.
That's right.
And I believe this is a setup to, as it is doing, lessen the powers of these agencies for big business.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of moves made off of this little small precedent that probably means nothing to anybody right now, but it's going to be major changes across the board. And it's not going to just be in the automotive industry, or it's going to be across the board.
Yeah, agreed. You know, there's a lot going on. And I guess before we get into what our next topic is, talking about where our plans are going to take us, we would be remiss to skip over a couple things for our listeners out there. Number one, Phil and I got a chance to get together a couple days ago in White Salmon and hang out and visit White Salmon, and we visited Hood, and that was cool. We stayed at Moscow Moto, so we should mention these things, right?
Yeah. So let me kind of interview you on that, because this was your first time there. So give your raw opinion on it, about whatever part of it. Just give me your raw opinion of White Salmon, Oregon.
First thing I would say is, if you guys have not visited that part of Oregon and Washington, you need to. It is an amazing scenic area. On my travel out of there, after Phil went back home, we went up the what am I saying here? The gorge,
Columbia River,
the Columbia River Gorge. And that drive is amazing, coming out of White Salmon all the way, coming east. So, if you haven't visited this part of the world, you really need to. White Salmon turned out to be a funky little cool town. I really enjoyed that area, and Phil and I got to see a bunch of water sport activity on the river there. Happened to be going on a nice, beautiful, hot but beautiful day, and it was good to hang out. We met some British couple on motorcycles that we're staying at Moscow Moto. In fact, that we're going to be seeing them in a couple days. They're also coming to this event that we're heading to.
Okay. They were still thinking about it.
Yeah, they're going to be coming. Cool. So and we've been hanging out with my buddies Deidre and Reyes from Exploring Still Connected, which I'm still traveling with right now. We've actually had an interesting journey since leaving. It was funny. I ran into a buddy of mine that is from Baja. This is how small the world is, guys. I ran into a friend who's from Vancouver. She came down on her way by, stopped. I gave her a pin to check me to stop and say hi yesterday. She stopped. This is somebody I camped with down in Los Frailes down in Baja. Stopped by, and Deidre Reyes and I were camped at you can't make this stuff up. We were camped at a preschool, and the connection is, this is something I want to kind of mention. We probably could have a whole podcast talking about nomad life and being on the road and experiences that you can have and just the way life happens if you let it. But on our way to where we are now, which is in Coeur d'Alene, I had to stop at Williams Sonoma in downtown Spokane, which is interesting because when I had bought an ice cream machine, and I didn't realize that Williams-Sonoma was quite in a sort of a high-end luxury mall right downtown. So we went to pick it up with two very large Overland rigs, which was an interesting scene in itself. Had to park in a loading zone, and I went running into the building. And anyways, and then Reyes and Deidre bought a new motorbike. So these are the things that you do while you're on the road. But they bought a new motorbike, but they didn't have a rack on the front of or any way of carrying the motorbike on their rig. So we had to stop and went to Harbor Freight and bought a motorcycle ramp, and then got to this guy's house. In any case, his daughter owns this preschool. So to make a long story short, he's like, hey, why don't you guys go stay at the preschool if you want to camp in town here? So we did that. In any case, so Sarah ended up coming out and visiting us at this preschool. It was kind of cool because we had the use of the bathrooms inside, and we got to plug into the side of the building and everything. So these are the weird things that happen when you're on the road full time. And then of course the next night we're now here at Cracker Barrel in Coeur d'Alene. So you never know what's going to happen. It is not all like scenic vistas and beautiful, parked out in the middle of the wilderness. But sometimes I got to tell you, the funniest, most interesting things happen, not necessarily camped in beautiful places in the woods. And we all like those places, of course. But like last night, as an example, we had like a little mini, I'll call it a little mini get together of people that were camped here at the Cracker Barrel. There were people in RVs and vans, and we're all getting together in the parking lot last night. So you can't make this stuff up. In any case, I'm all over the place on the podcast here, but
the thing that sticks out to me in that story is because I'm researching stats and information for a future podcast that we're going to be having in a week or two about nomads, and how I was having a conversation with some neighbors that were telling me that, van people and full-time on the road people, they pretty much generalize them as being hippies, and not contributing to the economy. But just in the past few days, you talked about a motorcycle purchase.
We spent $5,000 on a motorcycle and an ice cream machine.
Right. So I'm not going to give away our next show, but the quick answer is nomads absolutely contribute to the economy. And if you itemize, they may even be contributing more.
Yeah. The other thing I want to, before we move on, is mention, because we talk a lot about all of this stuff. Certainly is the news cycle that's been going on. The country is at a. Let me just say this.
Say it.
I mean, think about this. We were probably less than 3 millimeters away from a potential civil war or something. We had an assassination attempt on a former president who's obviously the Republican nominee. If that had killed him, I don't know what we would be talking about on this podcast right now.
I don't know either, bro. I don't know either.
And no matter what side you're on, like, that is obviously not acceptable in a quote first world country, in any kind of political environment, to be trying to shoot people. So I was actually very happy to see both sides came out very quickly and said this is not cool. And where we go from here, it's going to be interesting to watch the next 3 months to see what happens. I watched a little bit of the Republican National Convention last night on television, and the feeling was completely different. I mean, here you go. You got your major candidate coming out with, an ear bandage that was, a quarter of an inch from his brain. And the vibe was just amazing, to be honest with you.
They played the long version of Proud to Be America when he was coming out.
It sure did. I mean, it was like a 20-minute version. And I'll tell you, and this is, do not take this politically, but I was super excited to see that there was somebody nominated for vice president that's 39 years old. And that's take the politics right out of it. You've heard me preach about this before. Man, to be honest with you, I wish all four the presidential candidates and vice presidential candidates were all 39 years old. But it is great to see some younger blood and younger generation. I'm excited to see that and see where that goes.
We spoke about this. I actually think there needs to be an age limit. Yeah, for sure. So, that's all I really want to say about that. We would be from our past podcasts of talking about politics. I'll say one more thing. It is our prediction on the, maybe it wasn't the last podcast, but a couple ago where we said that Biden was going to be out by by his convention. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see whether this, and this is a figment of, or maybe it's a statement on our news and our politics and our culture, but the news cycles switch so fast. So the fact that this happened, and we had talked about all of a sudden Donald Trump's not in the news at all. It was all Biden. And now, of course, it's almost completely reversed. It'll be interesting to see how that affects whether or not he stays in, stays out, or what goes on behind the scenes. Okay. So do you remember what my exact prediction was? I said I was that if he didn't go out, to be worried about what they do to change the where the attention was. You remember I said maybe it would be a possible war or something like that. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Wow. We sure got that.
One thing I do want to speak about, Mike, about that is what's bothering me most about this more than anything else is political correctness is just making me want to throw up. And let me tell you a little story. You saw my last post. I made a post where a lady is carrying a flag and running through the fields, and then it switches to a shot of the American flag. And all I say in my Instagram is, we're all in this together.
I saw that.
Right?
Yes.
So that should be pretty much a unanimous sentiment no matter what. Would you agree on that?
I would absolutely agree.
Well, what I noticed is high volume of people watched the video, but the percentage of people who commented and liked the video was extremely low. And here's the thing. I had more DMs on that post than I've ever gotten before, where people were saying what they thought or what they interpreted from what I posted. So it's amazing to me that people are very opinionated, but they won't speak. And their opinions are things that they shouldn't be ashamed of. Some people were just like, yeah, it's crazy that it happened. Yeah, I hope he's okay. But they're scared to say that in a comment.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. I mean, unfortunately, it
was considered controversial, my post. That's wild.
That is wild. Yeah, it shouldn't be because obviously, we'll leave it at that. We are all in this together. It is one collective country, and we've got to come together. And we're going to disagree on a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, I firmly believe, regardless of who wins the election, as an example, that the country is fundamentally going to change either way. Meaning that we are still all human. So I'm not going to, because there's obviously people that are like, if Biden gets elected, he's senile, the thing's going to go to crap and whatever. I mean, right, wrong, or different. There's a lot of people involved in this, running this thing. And the same thing on the other side, people are like, oh, if Donald Trump gets elected, democracy is over. Bullshit. I mean, that's just bullshit. Clear and simple. That's just a load of garbage. That's just a talking point. And, hopefully we can see above that. I think the intelligent people are not saying stuff like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dumb people out there.
And when you get to my age, you've heard so many candidates over decades always say, this is the most important election of your life. If we make a mistake with this one, the democracy may be over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. So what are we going to do next, Phil?
Well, Mike, some people, if people enjoy following our travels and the things that we do and whatever, this is going to be good news. And for those who don't, this is going to be bad news. They're going to see more of us together real soon.
That's right. So I'm on my way already towards, and you know how I travel at the speed of backwards. I'm in Coeur d'Alene. I am about 340 miles, I believe, from the destination, which I figure it'll take me another 2 to 3 days. We're planning on, we are heading towards a small town called Three Forks in Montana. It's just west of Bozeman. And we're heading to the Xoverland Ranch grand opening. So Expedition Overland has, I believe it's a 400-acre ranch that they are sort of, we got invited to, and it's sort of a big grand opening event.
Well, it's currently the big deal. It's the ticket to go to. It's the thing it's what's happening right now. It's the place to go. It's the hot ticket. And I'm excited to go. I'm excited to hang out with you again. And we are going to do our best to give anyone who follows us on social media a very good idea of what it's all about.
Right. Both the personal people side of it and the view of the ranch and sort of life in Montana. And hopefully we're going to get Clay and Rachel on the podcast and talk to those guys about what their plans for Xoverland is and what this ranch is all about, because it certainly looks super cool. And it looks like we're going to be able to drive some Toyotas through a pretty cool off-road course.
Yeah, I believe Toyota is very heavily represented from consumers and then from the actual company itself.
That's right. So really looking forward to it. And unfortunately, you're thinking that we're going to be in Montana, particularly in Western Montana, you're thinking, wow, the weather's going to be great. It's going to be cool. Yeah, no. It's supposed to be hot still. Everywhere I go, it's hot.
Isn't Montana where that saying came from? Wait a few minutes for the weather and it'll change, or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see.
You can't depend on Montana weather. You can depend on it changing.
Yeah.
We mentioned one interview, but if things go the way we plan, there's going to be a who's who list of people there from all over the world. And don't want to divulge, and partially because we don't fully know who those people will be, but we will absolutely be having other interviews of people that you're curious about. And if you've ever seen us do our interviews, you will get a look at these people that you generally don't get in other interviews.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I do know that it's quite a bit of people in attendance that are coming to this thing, and I think it's going to be it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, I know it's going to be fun. I cannot imagine Clay making a move like this and not having every bell and whistle for the event.
Exactly. So for those of you out there that are listening to us that probably follow, and we've talked about this on other podcasts, that follow Xoverland, I mean, they very well probably, if you had to ask me what are three of the biggest entry points into the world of overlanding, Xoverland is definitely one of them. I think for many people, it may be their first point of entry into the whole community of overlanding comes through that. They produce the sort of their own, I guess you would call it, our own TV network, and some of their obviously their production value is incredible. So I'm sure we've got a lot of listeners out there that are following along with Xoverland already. If you're not, you should be.
Well, Mike, even other people that people follow, we've had them on the podcast. We've interviewed them. We asked who they are inspired by. And Expedition Overland is one of the top 3 names that we continually over and over hear people say that was their entry point into learning about overlanding, being inspired. So, yeah, these are the big boys.
That's right. So I'm kind of excited going to be entering. Actually, I'm hitting the road here shortly, and we're making our way probably to Missoula tonight. So be entering into my adopted home state of Montana today. So I'm kind of excited about that as well. I haven't been up here in a while.
If you guys weren't on a timeline, I'd tell you to stay right where you are for at least a day. And you're in a nice area, bro.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so like I said at the top of the show, I'm planning on staying in the Montana, northern Idaho area largely until I make my way down to Colorado for the Overland Expo Mountain West show, which is towards the end of August.
Well, now that I've officially gotten my media badge, I'll announce that I'll be there right there with you. We'll be doing coverage. We have some ideas to do some new things that you haven't seen us do before. I've been working on a game show since the beginning of this podcast that I think we might be ready to implement during a podcast. I don't want to tell more because it seems like people who don't admit to watching or listening do, because our ideas end up other places.
That's right.
When we give too much detail.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. So we got a lot coming up. I mean, this is all, think about it. Today is, what is today? July 16th, right?
Mm-hmm, Tuesday.
So all of this is really, actually, we're really talking about the next 5 weeks or so, because we've got this event coming up Thursday at Xoverland. And then, a few weeks go by, and before you know it, we've got to head to Colorado. So a lot going on.
Yeah. Today's podcast was pretty much duty for us. It would have been far more convenient for us to cancel this week's podcast with all of the stuff that we need to do this week. But we love doing the podcast with you guys.
We don't want to miss out. And then the other thing is we've got some pretty big guests coming up that we've got lined up over the next little bit as well. So looking forward to talking to some people that you were definitely going to want to hear from.
So Mike, give them at least one name. I wasn't going to say anything. I'd like to wait till we actually do the interview to tell them. But
I'll give you one name, Graham.
Okay, so Mike is being funny because we have 2
Grahams.
very well-known world travelers, and they're both named Graham.
That's right. So you guys can figure out who those people are.
Well, they're both going to be on the show, so you don't even have to figure it out.
That's right.
So you got 2 for 1.
Yep.
Well, Mike, is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, looking forward to this week, and get out there and adventure. If you're not, I've been enjoying my last. I've still got my just to give you the update here. I still got my arm brace on. I can still not feel all of my fingers, but it's improving day to day. So it has gotten better. And in fact, when we went to get Reyes and Deidre's motorbike, since I own one already, I did take it for a little test drive. So I know I can ride a motorbike if I have to. So that's definitely improved.
Mike, you need to let that go for a minute because you still not clutching fast.
No, probably not. But I just did a little tour around the neighborhood there. No BDRs yet.
Well, guys, this is a short one. We didn't want to miss a week, and we did want to give you some updates to let you know what's coming up and to stay tuned because we've got a lot ahead of us, big stuff ahead of us. And in the short term, not far off, but in the following weeks. So stay tuned for more.
Sounds good.
All right, Mike. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm gonna close it out. This is gonna be one of our. This is probably the record shortest podcast we've ever done.
I think our last one might have been the record longest.
Oh wow! If I told people that we literally cut out an hour. All right, guys. You know what I'm gonna say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.